Gaffer, it was the first defeat of the season on Tuesday night, but is it important not to let that take away from what's been a really encouraging start to the season and plenty of positives on the night as well?
Yeah, not at all. I think we watched it back as staff yesterday, and some good passages of play still. We introduced 7 players into live action on Tuesday and against top League One opposition. We fared pretty well. It was a competitive game. There's still a couple of moments, where we want to do better. But that aside, I think we looked at a good League Two outfit still, despite all the changes, and we move swiftly on to another big challenge on Saturday at Cambridge.
I know 7 players you mentioned, I would imagine they're a little bit more up to speed now, should they be called upon, either from the start or from the bench at the weekend?
Yeah, I think it's important that they were blooded and because weeks can go by and before you know it, then you have a couple of injuries and they're thrown into action and not played a month. So it was important from both their self-esteem and fitness levels that they had a lot of minutes and they did and they performed well, which is good, and it's good for the overall atmosphere here. We want everyone looking around the shoulder and thinking, I'm starting at the minute, but I tell you what, he played a cracking game the other night, I've got to stay on it.
On the subject of injuries, we spoke after the game about Jack Evans, who suffered a nasty cut. You said you'd see how that healed over the next couple of days. How has that gone over the last few days?
Yeah, so far so good. He's got it stitched up and should be fine. He said after the game he wanted to continue, but the amount of blood that he lost, there's no way I was going to put him back on, and we had to look after him. What we didn't do was to do the concussion sub, because we'd have missed him, and he wasn't concussed anyway, so it wouldn't have been genuine, and it makes him eligible for the weekend.
And it is Neil Harris's Cambridge away from home at the weekend. What kind of a test are we expecting from them?
Well, we watched some games of theirs, the first few games of the season, the last few days, and they're a good outfit. Yeah, they have plenty of movement in the midfield. One of the widemen comes in narrow. They've got a 10 in there, so they try and get the numbers to be able to play through you. But also they've got that core strength, height-wise as well, which often good League Two teams have. And so we'll have to stand up to it. We'll have to remain organised and be able to sustain that intensity level for the entirety of the game to be able to bring something home.
Similarities between this fixture and our opening weekend away at Bristol Rovers, in that it's a team coming down from League One. In that performance away at Bristol, have we kind of given ourselves a blueprint to go out there and get what we want from the game?
Yeah, I think so. I think in all games at this level, you have to show real intensity, a willingness to show resistance when you're up against it, and you might be up against it because for 5-10 minutes of physicality, like Bristol Rovers hurled everything in from the halfway line. There might be spells like that, or it might be spells where it's short, sharp stuff around the edge of the box where you have to stay on it, keep your feet. But it's the focus, basically, was what I come into, and I think that is what we showed in the first game, and that's why we preserved the clean sheet. We showed it for 75 minutes last week, and then I had a couple of switch-off moments, and we have to learn from that. Still took a point. Still moved forward well, but we know that we can lean on that experience only a couple of weeks ago.
And that was a really good defensive performance, but looking at us as an attacking force, 5 goals this season. I think all the goals have come from those positions just behind the strikers, and it's great to see all Duke McKenna, Ellis Taylor, Reece Smith, Conor McElhenney all off the mark. Given the way we've kind of set up this season, how important is it that those positions do contribute to goals?
Well, it's vital. It's the attacking third, and whether they come from crosses over to between the posts and we hit key areas. There should be plenty of those goals. So we're looking at supply, looking at people arriving on time in the box, but also looking at the last third of the pitch, being imaginative and pretty inventive in there, and that's when you've got to let them just go and be free and play. And I think we've got talented players to be able to get in key areas, and then it's down to the supply line for those boys, because they're all good enough. And I told them the other day, believe in it. You're really good players, and you've got goals in you, which is great news for us.
In terms of team news, we also had Jack Muldoon back on the bench. How close is he to featuring and getting minutes, and how good is it to have him back available?
Well, it's great to have him back, and not only on the pitch but off it, because he's a bouncy character, and he breeds belief. He's a legend here, so we know also big moments he comes alive. So he's a bit of a talisman from that point of view. So great to have him back, and he's back now.
Great stuff, thank you.
Cheers.